My friends, every morning we are given a gift, the gift of another day. Yet most of us wake up rushing, worrying, or scrolling through distractions. We forget the miracle that has already happened. We open our eyes. We are alive. We are breathing. And that alone is enough to say, thank God every morning. When we wake up in the morning, the very first thing that happens is something most of us never even think about. We open our eyes, we take a breath, and our body starts moving into the rhythm of a new day. It seems automatic, it seems obvious, but it's actually one of the most profound things we'll ever experience. We woke up. That simple fact means that life has given us another chance. Another 24 hours to learn, to love, to create, to grow. And when you really take a moment to consider the sheer magnitude of that, it changes everything about how you approach your day. Think about it. Someone somewhere last night went to sleep and didn't get to wake up. That isn't meant to be dark or depressing, it's meant to be real. Life is fragile, and it's never guaranteed, yet here you are breathing, alive, present. When you start your morning by acknowledging that, by recognizing that waking up itself is a miracle, you start living with a deeper sense of awareness. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you, it's about knowing that you've been handed a gift before you even step out of bed. Most of us move past this moment too quickly. The alarm goes off, we're already thinking about emails, traffic, responsibilities, or problems waiting to be solved. The brain kicks into overdrive before the heart even gets a chance to feel thankful. But when you pause for just 10 seconds and reflect, I woke up, I'm alive, I've been given another day, your nervous system shifts. You're no longer in a state of urgency. You're in a state of presence. That subtle shift in the first few minutes of your morning can redirect the entire trajectory of your day. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is highly plastic in the moments just after waking. Your state of mind is impressionable, open, and ready to be programmed for the hours ahead. If the first thing you give your mind is stress, worry, or negativity, you are essentially teaching your nervous system to carry that tone all day long. But if the first input you give it is gratitude, pure awareness of the miracle of being alive, you are priming yourself for resilience, calm, and focus. That's not just poetic language, that's physiology. Gratitude influences the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering stress hormones and raising the baseline of emotional regulation. When you start your morning with that, you're literally creating a different brain state for the day ahead. I think about it like this: waking up is the ultimate reset. Yesterday's mistakes don't get to own today unless you let them. Yesterday's stress, yesterday's regrets, they can only follow you if you choose to carry them. Each morning is an opening, a door that says, here's a new chance. You don't have to live today with the weight of yesterday. That awareness alone can make you lighter, more intentional, and more open to what this day wants to teach you. It's also worth considering how rare it is that we stop to celebrate the obvious. We celebrate birthdays, promotions, and milestones, but we rarely celebrate the miracle of waking up on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Yet that Tuesday morning is no less extraordinary than the biggest moments of your life. The fact that your heart kept beating through the night, your lungs kept drawing breath, your brain kept orchestrating trillions of processes without your conscious effort, that is extraordinary. To recognize that when you open your eyes is to start your day rooted in awe rather than in routine. Now, some people will ask, but what if my life is difficult right now? What if I'm waking up into stress, uncertainty, or even pain? And the truth is, yes, waking up doesn't erase problems. But gratitude doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means grounding yourself in the truth that, despite the challenges, you're still here. And if you're still here, there's still possibility. There's still the opportunity to heal, to change, to improve, to connect. The very act of waking up is proof that you are not finished yet. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off or when sunlight touches your eyelids, resist the urge to rush into the noise. Just take a breath and notice, I'm here. I woke up. I've been given another day. It's simple, but simplicity is often the most powerful practice. That recognition sets a tone of gratitude that ripples through your entire day. It reminds you that life itself is enough of a reason to say thank you. And if you can start every morning that way, you'll realize that you never needed extraordinary events to feel grateful. You just needed to see the extraordinary in what's already happening. When most people open their eyes in the morning, their first thought is often about what's wrong. The brain has a natural tendency, shaped by evolution, to scan for problems. It's called the negativity bias. Our ancestors needed it for survival, but today it often works against us. Instead of seeing the miracle of waking up, the mind jumps straight to the unfinished tasks, the bills, the conflicts, or the stresses waiting to be faced. And so even before the day has begun, it's already framed as a struggle. That frame then dictates the emotional tone, the energy, and even the body's chemistry for the hours that follow. But imagine shifting that frame. Imagine opening your eyes and instead of rehearsing complaints, you look for something to appreciate. It doesn't have to be big. It could be the fact that you have a roof over your head, that your body carried you through the night, that you get another chance to step into the world. This shift from complaint to appreciation doesn't ignore the challenges, it simply changes the lens you view them through. And that shift has enormous consequences for how your brain and body experience the day. The words we say to ourselves in those first moments are more than casual thoughts. They're instructions. If you start, I have to. You tell your nervous system you're already under pressure, that life is a burden. But if you replace that with, I get to, you tell your nervous system this day is an opportunity, not a punishment. I have to go to work becomes, I get to contribute, I get to provide, I get to connect, I have to wake up early becomes, I get to live another morning. That one simple reframing has a measurable impact. It shifts the brain toward dopamine and serotonin release rather than cortisol. It sets you up not to endure your day, but to engage with it. Think about how often people complain about the very things that are actually signs of life working. Waking up early means you're alive. Having bills means you have shelter, water, electricity, the things those bills represent. Feeling busy often means people need you, that you're connected to a network of responsibilities, of purpose. We complain about the evidence of our blessings. And the tragedy is, when you only see the weight, you miss the gift. But when you start training yourself to see through appreciation, you begin to recognize just how supported you already are. This isn't just a mental trick. The body responds directly. Complaints trigger stress physiology, heart rate goes up, inflammation markers increase, the immune system weakens. Gratitude, on the other hand, activates pathways in the prefrontal cortex and calms the amygdala, the brain's alarm center. That means gratitude doesn't just make you feel better, it literally makes your brain function better. You make clearer decisions, you regulate emotions more effectively, and you interact with others in ways that build stronger bonds. And it starts with whether your first thought is a complaint or an appreciation. We also know that attention is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you focus on expands in your perception. If you start your morning by focusing on problems, you'll find more problems. If you start your morning by noticing blessings, you'll find more blessings. This isn't magical thinking. It's perceptual bias. The brain has a filtering system, the reticular activating system, that highlights whatever you're attuned to. If you prime it with gratitude in the morning, it will look for more to appreciate all day long. That means each appreciative thought in the morning multiplies throughout the day into dozens of small moments where you feel supported instead of depleted. And here's what's remarkable, this shift doesn't take hours. It takes seconds. Before your feet hit the floor, you can simply pause and replace one complaint with one appreciation. Instead of, I didn't get enough sleep, you might say, thank you for another morning, even if it's imperfect. Instead of, I'm overwhelmed by what I have to do today, you might say, thank you that I have a chance to show up and try. Those micro shifts add up over time into a completely different orientation to life. What happens when you practice this daily is that gratitude stops being a forced exercise and starts becoming automatic. Complaints lose their grip. Appreciation becomes the default. You notice yourself feeling lighter even in the face of stress. You find that the same situations that once dragged you down now carry a different energy. The external world might not have changed much, but your internal world has. And since perception shapes experience, the change inside you becomes the change outside you. So when you wake up tomorrow, instead of letting the mind fall into the old habit of complaint, catch it, interrupt it, redirect it. Choose appreciation. It might seem small, but it's the difference between a day lived in resistance and a day lived in flow. And the truth is, the more you practice that choice, the more you'll discover that there was always something to be grateful for. There still is, and there always will be. When you wake up in the morning, the first words you speak, whether out loud or silently to yourself, carry far more influence than most people realize. Language is not just communication, it is a form of programming. The nervous system is always listening, always taking cues from what you tell it. If your first words are, I'm so tired, or this day is going to be hard, then your body begins to align with that message. Cortisol levels rise, motivation dips, and your brain starts filtering the world in a way that confirms the expectation you've already set. You create a feedback loop between your language, your biology, and your perception. Now imagine shifting those words. Imagine that instead of broadcasting fatigue or stress into your system, you broadcast gratitude and intention. You open your eyes and say, thank you for another day. Today I will notice the blessings. Today I will bring kindness to the people I meet. With those words, you are sending a completely different instruction set into your mind and body. Dopamine and serotonin increase, heart rate variability improves, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for clarity, decision-making, and focus, comes online with greater stability. The body literally hears the message of your words and adjusts. This is why rituals of spoken gratitude and intention setting are so powerful. They're not abstract or symbolic, they're physiological. The body is designed to synchronize with the meanings we create. Words are signals. They shape posture. They influence breathing, and they activate neural circuits tied to either stress or resilience. By speaking words of gratitude, you are activating a circuit that primes you for opportunity rather than threat. And the earlier you do this in the day, the more momentum it gathers. Think of it like tuning an instrument before playing music. If you tune it poorly, every note is distorted. If you tune it carefully, the music flows beautifully. Your words in the morning are the tuning mechanism for your mind and nervous system. They set the key in which the rest of your day will be played. And what's fascinating is that even a short phrase can make a big difference. Something as simple as "thank you for this breath" or "I welcome this day" can shift your physiology from contraction to expansion. Another aspect that's important here is intention. Gratitude acknowledges what is, intention points toward what could be. When you pair the two, you create a powerful alignment. Gratitude roots you in presence, while intention directs your energy forward. For example, waking up and saying, "Thank you for another chance. Today I will meet difficulty with patience," sets both the foundation and the direction. It reminds you of the gift of the day and tells your brain how you want to use it. The act of speaking that intention wires it more deeply than just thinking it, because vocalizing recruits additional sensory and motor pathways that reinforce the message. Over time, these morning words become self-fulfilling. If your first words are negative, you're likely to notice negativity throughout the day. If your first words are grounded in gratitude and clarity, you're more likely to notice opportunities, kindness, and synchronicities. The brain's reticular activating system, the filter that decides what sensory input to prioritize, begins to highlight experiences that match your words. In that sense, your morning language sculpts your reality. It's also worth recognizing that these spoken intentions don't need to be elaborate. Simplicity is what makes them powerful. Something like, "I am grateful, I am present, I will live today with kindness" is enough. The key is sincerity. If you say it mechanically, it doesn't register deeply. But if you pause, feel the weight of the words, and speak them with genuine awareness, they imprint on your nervous system in a way that alters your state. Think about how children learn. They don't just listen to what is said to them, they internalize it. Over time, those repeated phrases become their inner voice. In the same way, the words you speak to yourself each morning become your inner voice for the day. By choosing language rooted in gratitude and intention, you are literally reparenting your nervous system, teaching it to meet the world with a healthier, more empowered baseline. The reality is you can't always control what happens in the day. Unexpected stress, challenges, and setbacks will always come. But you can control the frame you bring into those moments. By starting with intentional words, you've already tilted the scales in your favor. You've reminded yourself that life is a gift, and you've given your brain a compass to follow no matter what arises. That doesn't mean the day will be perfect. It means you'll be better equipped to navigate it with strength and perspective. So tomorrow morning, when you wake, don't let your first words be random. Don't let them be dictated by fatigue or distraction. Choose them. Speak gratitude. Speak intention. Tune yourself to the frequency you want to live in. Because those few seconds of language in the morning can echo across every hour that follows, shaping not just your day, but the quality of your life. It's easy to feel grateful when life is smooth, when things are going your way, when you wake up and everything feels aligned. But the real test of gratitude and the real transformation it can bring happens in the moments when life feels heavy. The truth is, challenges and obstacles are not interruptions to life. They're part of it. They arrive to shape us, to stretch us, to teach us something we might never have learned without them. And when you begin to see them through that lens, gratitude takes on an entirely different meaning. Most of us instinctively resist discomfort. We view setbacks as punishment, failures as proof that we aren't enough, and pain as something to be avoided at all costs. But the reality is that almost every major breakthrough in your life has likely come on the other side of struggle. Growth and comfort rarely coexist. If you trace back your own journey, you'll probably find that the hardest chapters gave you strength, empathy, or clarity that you couldn't have developed any other way. The heartbreak taught you resilience. The rejection taught you humility. The failure taught you creativity and persistence. Gratitude in the midst of those moments doesn't mean you enjoy them. It means you recognize the hidden value within them. Neuroscience helps us understand why this works. When we reframe a challenge as a teacher rather than a threat, the brain responds differently. Instead of the amygdala firing in constant alarm, the prefrontal cortex comes online, giving you access to problem-solving, patience, and perspective. Gratitude is essentially a cognitive reframe. It shifts your brain from survival mode into learning mode. And in that state, you're more adaptable, more creative, and more resilient. You can actually use adversity as fuel rather than letting it drain you. Think of a muscle. It only grows by being stressed, by encountering resistance. If you never challenged it, it would never strengthen. Life works the same way. The obstacles placed in front of you are not barriers to your growth. They are the resistance that creates your growth. And when you wake up each morning and choose to thank life not only for what is easy, but also for what is difficult, you start to rewire your relationship with struggle itself. You stop seeing it as something unfair, and you start seeing it as part of your curriculum for becoming who you're meant to be. This doesn't mean you deny the pain. It doesn't mean you minimize the reality of loss or grief or disappointment. Those are real and they hurt. But it does mean you open yourself to the possibility that inside that pain is a lesson, a gift, or a new strength waiting to emerge. Gratitude gives you the patience to hold on long enough to find it. Without gratitude, you get stuck in resistance. With gratitude, you move into acceptance, and acceptance is where healing begins. I often think of the difference between asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and asking, "What can this teach me?" The first keeps you in victimhood. The second moves you into growth. Gratitude is the bridge between the two. By saying thank you even when it's hard, you shift the question. You start to see that perhaps this struggle has something valuable to offer, even if it's not obvious yet. And the moment you make that shift, you change not only your mindset but your physiology. The stress response calms, your perception widens, and your energy begins to flow differently. There's another important aspect here. Gratitude in adversity creates empathy. When you've walked through difficulty and found meaning in it, you understand the struggles of others more deeply. You become more patient, more compassionate, more able to support the people around you. In that way, your obstacles don't just transform you, they ripple outward and help transform others. The gratitude you cultivate in your own hardships becomes a resource for the people in your life. So the next time you wake up and immediately feel the weight of a challenge on your shoulders, pause. Instead of going straight into resistance, try this, acknowledge it, breathe into it, and quietly say, "Thank you for what this will teach me." You don't have to know the lesson yet. You just have to trust that it's there. That trust changes everything. Because when you start the day with that orientation, you're not defined by the challenge. You're defined by how you choose to meet it. And when you can meet even the hardest parts of life with gratitude, you'll discover that the very things you once thought were breaking you were actually the things building you. There's a simple but powerful truth about the way the human mind works. What you focus on expands. Your attention is like a spotlight. Whatever you direct it toward becomes larger, brighter, and more significant in your perception. This is not just philosophy, it's biology. The brain is equipped with a filtering system called the reticular activating system, and its job is to highlight whatever you've trained it to see. If you wake up each morning thinking about everything that's wrong, everything you lack, everything that frustrates you, that system will filter the world in a way that confirms those thoughts. You'll notice more problems, you'll magnify difficulties, and you'll miss opportunities. But when you wake up and deliberately begin with gratitude, something very different happens. You prime your brain to look for what's working, what's beautiful, and what's possible. And the more you do that, the more evidence of it you'll find. This is why gratitude has such a multiplying effect. It's not just that you feel better in the moment, it's that your entire perceptual field shifts. When you say thank you for the simple things in the morning, your breath, the sunlight, the chance to try again, you are planting seeds in the soil of your mind. Throughout the day, those seeds grow into countless little recognitions. A kind gesture from a stranger, a moment of quiet, a smile from someone you love. What once would have passed by unnoticed becomes meaningful. And the more you acknowledge those small blessings, the more blessings you start to notice. Gratitude creates a self-reinforcing loop. What's remarkable is how quickly this can alter not only perception but physiology. Studies show that gratitude practices reduce stress hormones, improve immune function, and increase levels of dopamine, which is linked to motivation and learning. In other words, gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how your body operates. When you thank life each morning, you're effectively giving your nervous system a different baseline to work from. That's why people who consistently practice gratitude often report that life feels lighter, opportunities appear more often, and relationships deepen. It's not that the world itself is changing, it's that their way of seeing the world is changing, and perception directs experience. Consider how this plays out in everyday situations. Two people can walk into the same room, encounter the same circumstances, and come away with completely different experiences. One might leave irritated, focusing on what wasn't perfect, while the other feels uplifted, focusing on what was good. The circumstances were the same, but their attention was not. Gratitude is what shapes that attention. And when you make it a habit, it becomes second nature. You don't have to force it. You simply live inside of it. Another dimension of this is that gratitude doesn't just change what you notice, it changes what you attract. People are naturally drawn to those who carry an attitude of appreciation, because it feels good to be around them. They radiate openness, presence, and warmth. Opportunities flow toward them because their energy signals receptivity. On the other hand, people who constantly complain or focus on lack repel connection, because they unconsciously drain the energy of those around them. When you thank life every morning, you're not only shaping your inner state, you're also broadcasting an outer signal that brings more of what you appreciate back to you. This is why so many great teachers across different traditions and disciplines emphasize gratitude as a foundational practice. It's not about being blindly positive or ignoring hardship. It's about calibrating your attention so that you see the full picture, not just the problems. Life will always contain challenges, but it also always contains beauty, love, and opportunity. Gratitude tilts the scale so that you're not consumed by what's missing, but sustained by what's already present. And this doesn't require hours of practice or elaborate routines. It can begin in the simplest way, waking up, placing your hand on your heart and saying, "Thank you." That alone is enough to start shifting the spotlight of your mind. And from there, the day unfolds differently. You'll notice things you didn't notice before. You'll feel supported instead of deprived. And little by little, you'll realize that gratitude is not just a reaction to blessings. It's the very state that creates more of them. So when tomorrow comes and you open your eyes, remember this: whatever you choose to focus on will expand. If you choose gratitude, you won't just see more to be thankful for, you'll live inside a reality where life itself keeps giving you more reasons to say thank you. So tomorrow, when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you let yesterday's worries intrude, pause. Put your hand over your heart and whisper, thank you. Thank God for another day, another breath, another chance. Because a life lived in gratitude is not just a life that looks blessed, it is a life that feels blessed.